So I've talked a lot in my recent videos about the dangers of AI-generated images, mostly in my ghost debunking videos, which I think are great training material for media literacy and critical thinking skills. But it's time to move beyond the paranormal and confront the dangers of AI images head on, because danger is actually not my middle name. That would have been cool. So in this video, I'll be showing some examples of AI-generated images, and we'll be going through some ways that we can find out if what we're looking at is real or not. Everything ranging from the extremely obvious AI images to the ones that are a little harder to detect. It's AI images, the good, well, there's no good ones actually, the bad, and the ugly. First, you may be wondering, what are AI-generated images? Well, I can answer that for you. They're images generated by AI. You're welcome. Happy to help. Artificial intelligence can generate a lot of different things. Photos, videos, even audio. But we'll be concentrating on photos in this video because it's the simplest and most common right now. So why are these images that we'll be looking at generated by AI? Well, it's mostly because it's a cheap, easy way to produce something that looks professionally made on the surface, but without paying an actual artist or having to wait for them to actually create it by hand. It's used for everything from farming social media engagement, such as Facebook likes or Instagram follows, to more insidious uses like selling a product with no substance behind it, or even for scamming. Now, if you spend a lot of time on the internet, you probably know all this already. This video ain't for you, it's for your grandma. That's right, this video's here to help your Grammy, who's on Facebook 24/7 liking photos of Onion Jesus and commenting amen, not realizing that she's looking at something that's not real. Send this video to your grandma, she needs it. In fact, I'll tell you what, I won't even use any swear words in this video. I'll be brand safe for grandma. All right, I'm gonna stop talking about grandmas now. One last thing to note before we get started. This video is gonna be outdated pretty quickly. AI technology moves fast. Remember these Dolly AI images from a couple years ago? We all thought these were so funny. We were all making jokes like, wow, the robot takeover is a long way off, huh? And it wasn't that long ago when all you had to do to find out if an image was AI or not was just to look at the hands. We'd smugly chuckle to each other, AI can't do hands. Stupid AI! If you only knew how to do hands, you wouldn't get caught. Well, AI can generate hands now. Not all the time, but it's gotten pretty good at it, unfortunately. So hopefully you get what I'm saying here, and that's that some of the examples I'm gonna give about what to look for in an AI image are gonna be probably outdated sooner rather than later. But I'm still hoping that the approach and the mindset will still be helpful and useful for detecting AI images in the future. Now, let's have some fun by picking apart a really easy one. A few months ago, there was a live Willy Wonka event held in Scotland. Willy's Chocolate Experience. Man, that title sounds like the title of a, Willy's Chocolate Experience was advertised with these images and big promises. The event organizers were selling a world of pure imagination, and from these promotional images, they were imagining a lot. Listen, we'll talk about it, okay? I promise. Just don't look it in the eyes, you'll turn to stone. The event ended up literally being a world of pure imagination because the actual physical event was totally barren. It was nothing like the promotional images. People wanted refunds, the police got involved, it was a viral train wreck. These crowds of families paid £35 per ticket for an event that was sold exclusively on promotional imagery generated by AI. Like I said earlier, AI images are a cheap, easy way to produce something that looks professionally made. But that's the thing, that's all the images are. They're illusions. And unfortunately, AI can't generate a physical in-person event, now can it? Now, I'm not blaming the people who bought tickets or anything, you know, they're victims in all this. But I am betting that the promotional images that they looked at before they bought their tickets, they didn't realize were AI generated. And that probably would have affected whether they bought a ticket or not. So let's take a closer look at these promo images and see if we can spot the signs that they're AI-generated images. I'm gonna get so sick of the word images by the end of this. The event was put on by a company called House of Illuminati, a company that, as it turned out, had one single employee, but we'll get to that later. Here's a promo image for their events. Notice anything unusual? This is a great example of AI really struggling with text, one of its current weaknesses, thankfully. Sit back and enjoy the catgacating. Relax and listen to the carchy tunes. Enjoy the wonderful taste of Exarcerdre lollipops. Experience the thrills of a paradise of sweet teats. Sorry, Grandma. And churning entertainment. Here's another one. There's so many great features displayed here. Personally, I'm looking forward to the accepted twits. I'm guessing that was supposed to be unexpected twists. Oh, there was an unexpected twist, all right. Which one of these is your favorite? Leave a comment down below. Is it dojection? Or how about unigirival? Sound off in the comments, guys. Am I doing this YouTube thing right? Anything else I should plug here? Don't forget to subscribe. Let's see, what else can I get you to do? Maybe, would you mind depracting my video? Or twirting it? Oh, please twird it. One of the things you'll notice with some of the sneakier AI images that we'll look at later is that they often don't hold up when you zoom in. Well, you don't even need to zoom in on these. You just need to read them. Here's the House of Illuminati's website, where they make some very extravagant promises. And yes, these paragraphs of text are also AI generated, but take a look at these images they're paired with. I mean, wow. These events look like they're going to be elaborate.
We spared no expense.
While these images look impressive here, they certainly don't hold up under close scrutiny. Do me a favor, would ya? And just imagine, if you will, a secrete of clam luxury. A strange tagline, to say the least. So right away, that's off, right? But we already knew AI struggled with text. Let's turn our attention to the background elements that don't quite make sense. For example, what's with this painting on the right? Looks like AI is still trying to get a hold of this whole hand thing. I guess I was wrong. Where exactly are these candle holders attached to the wall? Are they attached to the wall? They look like they're just floating. You didn't tell me this secrete of clam luxury was haunted. Everyone here is acting so civilized. And then there's this modern woman over here dancing on top of the table. Maybe she's trying to get elevation to separate from these faceless eldritch horrors she's surrounded by. There's also a random bird. A real bird, it seems. Has the painting come to life? Is it taxidermied? You'd think this guy would be cowering in fear from a bird like that. All right, so the background's completely ludicrous, but even elements in the foreground don't make sense. Like, what is this main dish they're having? And why are there two of them? How is this guy on the left holding his glass? What is this guy on the right holding? A sewing needle? And can I just say, this guy next to him is sitting really close. I mean, look at how much space there is. I guess he's fascinated by the sewing needle guy. Wants to get to know him better, maybe. Or maybe he just wants some distance from this disturbing candle inside a bottle over here. Actually, there's like 4 other candles, and they're all crowded around this mustache guy instead of in the center of the table where they're supposed to be. Talk about bad lighting. I also like how the flowers are way off to the side. Love putting the table centerpiece right next to the edge like that. This is the kind of sloppy AI generated image that's only meant to be viewed from a certain distance. Again, these are the easy ones, but that's what makes them so fun. This one might be my favorite promotional image they used. Again, if you're just scrolling past, this works fine, but what if we zoom in?
Enhance.
Unfortunately, this time there's no secrete of clam luxury tagline, so we'll just have to stop relying on the nonsense text. Let's look at the foreground elements. So right away, these theater rows don't make any sense. There's rows between rows, there's rows that stop and start suddenly in the middle of the theater, and towards the front, they're so disorganized it just looks like they're sitting in folding chairs or something. There's also this guy with 2 left hands holding his phone up over here. Now up here, it seems we have a heckler in the audience disrupting the show, except he's dressed just like the guys on stage, so I guess this is a cast member that's out in the audience. Oh God, what is that? Whoa. Well, I guess we see who chased him off the stage. Yeah, I'd be out in the audience too, away from that horrible thing. Notice how all these guys at the front of the stage have their backs turned to the audience. First of all, this is just bad blocking. You theater kids know what I'm talking about. No self-respecting stage production would look like this. I think this happened because the AI was confusing the stage actors with the audience members, and so it had them all face the same direction. This kind of thing happens a lot with the sloppier images. You'll see it again later. The stage looks like it's supposed to be a 19th century thoroughfare, but then there's this random knight on the right. Hey, the 8th century called. It wants its horrible fashion back. Got him. Owned that fraud. There's so much wrong with this one that I almost didn't see this futuristic photographer over on the right. You know, it figures that the AI wouldn't know how to generate a real artist, huh? Finally, I love the ghost balconies up here. It's like the AI started to generate a second level to this place, but then just gave up halfway through. This is too hard. I've decided that all these people up here are dead. They're ghosts. Now I don't have to detail them. You know, it's kind of funny to me that they even bothered to include this theater image in the examples, because it's like, I don't think a stage production would be one of the event organizers' responsibilities. You know, like, you're telling me they're going to direct a play? I mean, that takes months of planning. And then it's like, what kind of client would commission something like that? Who would want this? All right, last one. Looks like this secrete of clam disarray luxury is a fancy dance. One where the orchestra members rip off approximately 1/4 of their instruments and start dancing around with each other, apparently. Yep, it happened again. The AI couldn't tell where the musicians ended and the dancers began, so it just kind of fused them together. But the people seated aren't any better. Look at this guy. What, did he sneeze that thing out? Check out this Lovecraftian monstrosity over here. It looks like her face has fused with her hand, maybe? She might have been holding a napkin, too. I can't tell. This woman here is just bored. Probably because she lost her left hand somewhere. Ugh, we've all been there, right? Hey, can you figure out what any of the stuff on this table is? It's a mishmash of stuff. Looks like it's half candle, half wine glass, half tablecloth. That's 3 halves. Too many halves, if you ask me. You get the idea, though. These images look fine from a distance, but when you look at them up close, it's just a bunch of nonsensical patterns mushed together.
The pattern's so wild. The more the lines crisscross and the patterns overlap.
House of Illuminati, extraordinary events and immersive experiences. This is how they marketed their events, by using AI-generated images. Not with real photos or videos or even concept art. By the way, it really bothers me that the eye of the Illuminati symbol isn't centered on the image. You'd think an AI would at least be able to do something mechanical like that. And this is one of the problems with AI images being used. It encourages deceptive practices. It's cheap and easy to crank out these elaborate images, but you can't just write a text prompt to generate an actual live in-person event. You have to actually pay artists for real physical artwork, and you have to wait for them to produce it. There's no easy digital shortcut for that. The founder of House Illuminati, and its sole employee from what I can tell, Billy Cull, loves AI technology. He loves it so much that he published 17 AI-written books in 2023, within the span of a month. Like this one, The Biohazard Protocol. Trust me when I say, however bad you think it is, it's even worse. I truly believe that he didn't even read his own book before he published it. Side note, if you'd like me to do a more detailed deep dive in a separate video on these, I'm totally down for that, just saying. But yeah, that about wraps up our journey into the Imagination Lab. Oh wow, they misspelled the word imagination. That is wild. Well, with that said, it's time to segue. Is that what I think it is? No, I'm not doing an Oompa Loompa song for this part. No. Absolutely not. Sorry. There's just some things I won't doopity do. Alright, fine, I'll do it. Oompa Loompa doopity doo, I've got another sponsor for you. This video is sponsored by Factor. Factor is a meal delivery service that makes meeting your nutrition goals easier than ever, with fresh, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your doorstep and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code WOLF50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your month of orders. That's code WOLF50 at factor75.com to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month of orders. We're coming up on halfway through the year right now, and if you're anything like me, you've already had to restart a few of your New Year's resolutions. And for me, one of my major resolutions is about how I eat. Factor has helped me keep my resolution going throughout the year so far with some of their meal options like Calorie Smart or Protein Plus. Even aside from my resolutions, Factor helps me keep on track with my goals for my overall health with fast, simple solutions when I'm too busy to cook. Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code WOLF50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your month of orders. That's code WOLF50 at factor75.com to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month of orders. Big thanks to Factor for sponsoring this video and for helping me ease up on the difficulty level for my eating habits. But as for this video, we're about to raise the difficulty level. So I put my hair up because this is gonna get messy. Unfortunately for us, House of Illuminati isn't the only big brand using AI images to sell their products. What about big brands, multi-million-dollar brands that can afford to generate much more professional looking AI images? Well, you've gotta get a little more granular with those.
Popular card game Magic the Gathering came under fire just the other day for purportedly posting an AI-generated image to promote their new cards.
Okay, that was supposed to sound like a news anchor, but I just sounded like Moist Critical. Never mind. Yeah, so we've definitely taken things up a notch here. This one isn't nearly as obvious as, well, the ones we were looking at earlier, but this is still an AI-generated image, and the devil is still in the details. Let's start with just some general questions we can ask ourselves about the things in this image. For instance, what is this machine that the cards are on? Does the structure of it make any sense? Does it seem like each part has a purpose, or does it seem randomly assembled? Like, isn't it kind of weird to have these 3 light bulbs here in the center of the device, and then also another light hanging just to the side overhead? That's a lot of light bulbs in close proximity. Sometimes this kind of thing happens, but usually artists are sensitive to this kind of composition, and they'll try to avoid putting too many similar elements in one section like this. There's some seemingly random and pointless parts of this machine, like this paperweight over here to the left. If this was a cluttered table, like something a mad scientist might have, then it may make sense to have a weird thing like this just hanging out, but the rest of the table is totally clean, which means this thing's starting to look out of place. So even before we start zooming in, I think it's fair to say that this image is a little fishy. Instead of purposeful design behind all the elements in this image, it seems randomly assembled. Now, obviously, this isn't enough to say it's AI generated. It's possible that an artist decided, hey, the guy who owns this workshop, he just really likes light bulbs and paperweights, okay? Is that a problem? So, let's start zooming in. Oh boy, check out this dial. It looks fine at first, but then there's this weird, pointless pattern that forms on the right side. This is the type of confused design that an AI might generate. Dials like this will sometimes have so many lines along its circular edge that an AI may misunderstand the pattern, which is what it looks like happened here. Additionally, the dial itself isn't evenly circular all the way around. It's warped in a couple different spots. It's an almost impossible shape for it to be a manufacturing defect on an actual physical object. Check out the round edge of the cylinder back here, how it just melts into the side. Well, maybe it's just dented. But wait, where exactly did these 2 cables come from? They just fuse back into the metal surface. They must just be made out of the same material, right? Wow, the filaments in these light bulbs are all wrong. First, there's way too many of them, and they look like random streaks of light, which is not how real filaments look.
Cause the pattern's so complicated, you idiot!
This metal cylinder has ridges on the side that don't quite line up. This pipe next to this dial that we talked about earlier has a weird, inexplicable dent next to it, and everything on the right side of the dent is a different texture. What is this thing in the center of this wooden/metal box? Once again, it's got that trademark AI melting look. We've seen a lot of things in this image that look like they're melting or fusing into themselves, which is becoming a telltale sign. Finally, if you look at even the blurry cabinet back here, let me ask you this. What objects are these cabinets holding? Well, down here it looks like books, but then up here it looks like beakers and bottles. And then over here, almost like portrait paintings. I'm not sure, and the AI that generated this image wasn't sure either, so it just kind of did a different group of objects on every shelf. So it's pretty clear that this image is AI generated. However, that did not stop Magic the Gathering publisher Wizards of the Coast from vehemently denying it, at least at first. They came around later and admitted it. Just for fun, let's do a lightning round. Here's an early ad for Amazon Prime's Fallout series. Looks fine to me so far. Oh, that car has headlights on its trunk. Ya busted. Here's an ad from drawing tablet company Wacom. Wacom? Actually, I've never heard anybody say it out loud. I assume it's Wacom. Say, where's this dragon's tail coming from? Oh boy, the irony of a drawing tablet company using AI generated images to sell its tablets. This one hurts. I can't even gloat about this one. Here's an image from a Lego Ninjago quiz the Lego company published just last month. Now, if you've ever in your life seen a Lego person before, you know that the hands don't look like this, and the legs definitely don't do this. You got caught. Big brands like these have become more and more comfortable using AI images as time goes by and the images look more and more polished. Still, they're easy enough to differentiate once you know what to look for. It's really a shame that AI is being used as a shortcut for creative jobs instead of for more menial work, but we'll get to that later. When it comes to big brands partnering up with AI though, there's one that proudly stands head and shoulders above the rest. I'm talking, of course, about Facebook. Grandma, I want you to pay attention to this part. This affects you. Facebook doesn't have a great record of managing misinformation on its platform, let's say. So it's probably not surprising to find that Facebook has managed to become completely overrun with AI-generated images. Seriously, the situation is out of control. A lot of the images have similar themes, like featuring AI-generated sculptures of Jesus Christ. They can be made out of wood, onions, shrimp, and they're often prominently featuring African children posing next to them with the claim that they, quote, made it with their own two hands. Isn't that rich? And then there will be all these totally real people in the comments saying amen and nothing else. This kind of AI to AI interaction has a name too. It's called the dead internet theory. It's the idea that AI users actually outnumber the real people on the internet. Real people. Like you. And me.
And me.
The dead internet theory is mostly for fun, but there's a sliver of truth to it. Check out this page, Garrod43. They post AI-generated pictures of piles of money, and the totally real people in the comments are still spamming amen like it's one of those Jesus sculptures. Whoops, glitch in the matrix, I guess. This is just one example, of course. There are hundreds of Facebook pages dedicated to posting stuff like this. For example, AI-generated rural houses are a popular choice. Look, the totally real commenters are all saying, gorgeous, beautiful. You know how you can tell these houses are AI-generated, by the way? The porch furniture. It always gives it away. There's always some carpenter's abomination sitting there like a chair fused with a table or something. Otherwise, these pictures are pretty convincing, so if you see one of these houses on Facebook, look at the porch furniture. If something looks even slightly off, chances are it's AI. One of the creepier formats is the one for birthdays. They'll post completely AI-generated photos of mostly elderly women, but sometimes men or even young people, and they'll say they're celebrating their 108th birthday, or their 114th, or even their 120th. Of course, these people don't actually exist. There's so many of these though, like just look at all of them. And these are just ones that have been posted recently. But while non-existent rural houses, fraudulent Guinness World Record holders, and vegetable sculptures of Jesus Christ are among the more popular examples, these AI image farms can be of literally any topic imaginable. Here, I'll prove it. Here's a page all about elephants called Elephant Lovers. Some of them look realistic enough, I guess, although it's still got that fidgety AI texture to it where you can tell it doesn't know what physical material it's supposed to be portraying. All right. The obvious question here is, why would someone ever design a bench this way, where you couldn't even sit on half of it? That doesn't stop the round of applause happening in the comments, though. Okay, I mean, come on. Just so you know, if this actually existed, it would be the biggest crochet sculpture in the entire world. But yeah, it's fake. Just look at the disconnected shadow of the trunk over here. Whoopsie. I made this elephant with my own 2 hands. Yeah, sure you did. You're talking about these hands, right? Wow, pretty impressive considering one has 6 fingers and the other is a blurry mess. I made this elephant with my own 2 hands. Hey, wait a second. This is the same, but, huh? Oh, and I suppose you made this elephant with your own 2 hands too. How come all 3 of these sculptors have almost the exact same outfit? I almost think something fishy's going on here. Okay, now this is getting ridiculous. Why does your elephant have so many feet? Look, everyone, even a kid can do it. Made with her own 2 hands, too. Don't look at those aforementioned hands, by the way. Nothing suspicious there. And don't ask me where my feet are, either.
I don't want my foot fetished on the internet.
Whether it's elephant sculptures or vegetable pics of Jesus, you know, whatever you're into. There's an incredible amount of these images littering Facebook, and most of them share very similar descriptions. If it's a carving or a sculpture, they might say they made it with their own 2 hands, like I pointed out earlier. If it's a pic of Jesus, they might say, why won't this ever trend? To try to get you to engage with it. And for some reason, they'll have the words cabin crew in the description, usually paired with Scarlett Johansson. Speaking of cabin crews, there's a disturbing amount of stewardess or flight attendant imagery in a lot of these AI images. Sometimes Jesus will be pictured with them, sometimes not. Not sure what the significance of cabin crews is, to be honest. Beautiful cabin crew. They'll say that even if there's no cabin crew in the image. Lastly, the elderly birthday photos almost always are written by the person in the photo, allegedly, who will claim they made their cake with, quote, peach cream and filling. In fact, if you search Facebook for the phrase peach cream and filling, you will find thousands of these photos. Thousands. So, what exactly is going on here? Well, on one hand, they're just trying to make some easy money. Facebook pages like the ones that post these images are monetized, so that means that they take a revenue share based on how many views the images get. And since they're using AI not only to generate the images, but I'd hazard to guess also using it to generate the text prompts for those images, the process for the output of these pages is seemingly completely automatic. So that's on one hand, easy money. On the other hand, there's a mysterious vast network of recipe groups that you can trace all this activity back to, and I'm not sure exactly what's going on. It's very bizarre. One thing I noticed while looking at a lot of the birthday images in particular was that a bunch of them were being posted by recipe groups. They'd have generic names like grandma's recipes or daily recipes, so I decided to check it out. Here's the group page for daily recipes, which has over 400,000 members, almost 500,000. And every single post here is an AI image that the poster links to another smaller recipe group. So if you go to this other recipe group that they link to, and they're all like this, by the way, there's hundreds of them, the subgroups, which will have thousands of members in them too, by the way. They'll have an AI user promising to send recipes to people who comment, and they'll just spam these all day. they usually want you to say something like yummy, but sometimes they'll just take anything. Now, I don't know what happens after the AI user messages you the quote unquote recipe. I didn't really feel like following up with them, sorry. I'm not Kit Boga. It could just be more monetization strategy, like they push their posts into your messages inbox too, but the end goal for a lot of scammers like this is to obtain your personal information somehow. And that's a lot easier to do with private messages than with public comments where anyone can just sound the alarm if they see it. I'm just saying this recipe group rabbit hole has all the red flags of a personal info phishing scam. So be careful out there. Don't comment yummy on any recipes. It's dangerous. Honestly, I didn't think that I would end up talking so much about the AI image problem on Facebook when I first started researching for this video, but I'm frankly stunned. Like, it is by far the most densely AI populated corner of the internet that I've ever seen. Beautiful cabin crew. Scarlett Johansson. I made it with my own 2 hands. A Jesus sculpture made of Pepsi cans. That kind of rhymes. Anyway, time to get back on track and answer the question, what about AI images that really look real? Here's an image uploaded by Disney for Thanksgiving in 2023. It's got all their characters in it, and it generated a lot of suspicion for being possibly generated. This is a tough one. This is detecting AI images on hard mode. Once again, everything looks great until we start looking a little closer. Let's start with this mystery tool over here. What is that? In an image where everything else is crystal clear, it's odd that there's this ambiguous metal thing just sitting over here. They kind of look like tongs, chopsticks, I don't know. And then there's this celery dish with what looks like cucumbers or pickles growing out of the side of it. Look at the shape of this dish. You ever seen a dish shaped like that? Seems like the AI merged 2 dishes together here. Finally, there's this assortment at the very bottom of the image. You got grapes, an apple, and yams. Now, does that sound like a natural combination at a Thanksgiving table to you, or does that sound like the work of a confused AI? I gotta admit though, this piece is convincing. Like 99% of it looks perfectly fine, but there was just a few slip-ups that we were able to catch, and this is how difficult it is sometimes to detect AI. Ah, a job well done. Well, what if I told you this isn't an AI image? This is a 1943 painting by esteemed artist Norman Rockwell, and there's nothing AI generated about it. I guess this metal device here is a turkey carver of some kind, and I guess the celery and cucumber-like vegetable here are sitting on separate dishes. As for why Mr. Rockwell decided to compose yams together with grapes, I have no idea. But despite all that, the fact remains this is not an AI image. But Disney did post an allegedly AI-generated version of this classic painting for Thanksgiving 2023. Here it is. Now, it's not proven that this is AI to my knowledge, but it has that telltale AI sheen to it. A lot of AI-generated images have this same almost glossy look to them. Every object in the image is in focus and detailed and perfectly lit. It doesn't prove anything, but it just kind of feels too perfect. Now, what else about this looks AI generated? Well, we're going to zoom way in for these. Let's take a look at that mystery device. It was hard to tell what it was in Mr. Rockwell's painting, but that's partly because there wasn't much detail. In this image, however, we can see it very clearly, and I still don't know what it is, to be honest. It's like it's 2 utensils that have been fused together in some places, almost like the AI took a knife and a barbecue fork and just kind of mishmashed them together. Looks weird. Oh yeah, this is what a barbecue fork looks like, by the way. I know there's Europeans watching. All right, this is a very clear mistake. Notice anything odd about the celery? AI occasionally has trouble with keeping perspective consistent, and right here we have the celery leaves both in front and behind Chip's glass right here. Or is this Dale? How can you tell? Don't answer that, I don't want to know. Anyway, compare this to Mr. Rockwell's painting, where he clearly details the celery behind the glass, and we have what I would consider to be a sign of AI generation. Finally, let's revisit this bizarre yams and grapes dish. Now, there's nothing that I would consider clearly off about this, but look at how similar the apple and the yam look in this version of the image. They look so similar that I wonder if an AI generated this thinking that the apple and yam were the same thing. I say this because look at what's been added that wasn't in Mr. Rockwell's original. This little yam root right here. But it looks like it's coming out of the apple. Or should I put apple in quotes because maybe it's actually a yam? If a real artist added this root, it was a very strange decision to me, especially considering the rest of the food on the table is left almost identical to how Mr. Rockwell originally painted it. All right, quick conspiracy theory time. So we know that in order to generate images, AI pulls from other images. If I had to guess, the reason for this strange yam root shape, as well as the shading of the other fruit on this dish, I think the AI pulled from retro wallpaper. I had wallpaper in the kitchen that looked exactly like these as a kid, and one trademark of all these patterns is the little fork that the fruit vine does. A fork shape that looks an awful lot like this shape that randomly showed up in this version of the image. Also, the fruit is shaded in a very similar way to vintage wallpaper. It's just something I noticed. One last thing, the dish is not circular, and this is something that we noticed before in the Magic the Gathering AI image. It's got a little dent in it, and at this point, we just add it to the list, right? There's a lot of little things wrong with this image. So yeah, there's some weird discrepancies here, but there's otherwise very little that we can point to and say this is definitively an AI-generated image. And it's times like these where you have to go with the eyeball test. Because I put my eyeballs on this thing and I'm like, nah, something ain't right. But remember when I was presenting Mr. Rockwell's original painting with the same air of skepticism? Now, maybe you disagreed with what I was saying in that section, or maybe you were already familiar with the painting and you knew that it wasn't AI, but maybe you didn't. And maybe when I was pointing out some of the weirder details in Mr. Rockwell's painting, you were nodding your head and agreeing with me. And if you were, I'm not mocking you, trust me. All I'm saying, I'm trying to illustrate here is that it's sometimes hard to tell. And this is beginning to become another big problem with AI generated images. Beyond the deceptive practices, beyond the copyright infringement, the pervasive presence of AI images online has started witch hunts that hurt real artists. Just a few months ago, this image of a dwarf from the 2024 Dungeons & Dragons Player's Handbook stirred up controversy for being AI generated. A D&D YouTuber made a video about D&D publisher Wizards of the Coast, saying that they were being deceptive about not using AI images, pointing to this dwarf image as an example. Well, as it turns out, this image was hand-drawn by an artist, Nestor Osandan, as proven with these work-in-progress stills that they unfortunately had to post publicly to show their innocence. Now, since that aforementioned YouTube video doesn't exist anymore, I don't know what exactly about this image was considered to be evidence that it was AI generated, but I imagine it was of a similar attitude to what I was talking about earlier with that Norman Rockwell painting. This doesn't quite make sense. The perspective seems inconsistent here. Where does his headband go? It just disappears into the hair. Obviously, this isn't the only time that this has happened. I see real artists on Twitter get accused by people in the replies all the time of posting AI generated images. Sometimes they're right, admittedly, sometimes they get it right, but sometimes they get it wrong. And this highlights who the real victims of AI images are. Artists. There's the direct harm to artists, which is the way that the AI generates these images in the first place. And you may notice I keep using the term generated to describe how the AI produces these images. And that's because that's what it is. The AI doesn't draw these images, it doesn't create these images, it generates them. It's a strictly mechanical process. It isn't creative in any way. The AI scrubs through tons of images created by artists, and it generates an image based on all those images. It takes art and it repackages it. It creates exactly nothing. I also never called it AI art in this video. I always called it AI images. And that's because only humans can create art. Art is more than just a pattern of colors. It's personal, creative expression. And these humans who create art, artists, I believe we used to call them, they're not only having to deal with their work being stolen by artificial intelligence as part of this massive database it uses to generate these images, they're also having to deal with the indirect harm, which is the general public becoming so gaslit and paranoid that maybe what they're looking at is AI generated because it's getting so good at fooling people that they start accusing innocent artists of producing something that's ironically a danger to their entire industry and livelihoods. Not every asymmetrical piece of clothing or blurry smudge in an image is evidence of AI. Artists aren't machines, they're humans. Humans make mistakes or have imperfect art styles. In fact, some of the most famous artists deliberately painted things, quote, incorrectly. Look at this clock over here. Looks like it's melting. This is a telltale sign of AI generation. AI images victimize everyone. They deceive consumers, like with Willy's chocolate experience. They ruin the flow of information, like on Facebook. And they steal from, set unfair expectations for, and ultimately witch hunt artists. So, what do we do about this? Well, the best thing we can do about AI-generated images right now is spread awareness. I've talked to so many people who don't spend much time online about AI, and generally they have no idea what I'm talking about. They're like, so you're telling me a computer made this? And it's like, well, technically a computer makes everything that you see online, but yeah, sure, a computer made it. You know, so that's part of the goal with this video. Send it to your grandma or suffer from 7 years bad luck. That was, some media literacy here. That was a joke. I made it through the whole video without swearing, by the way, or making any inappropriate jokes. I'm such a nice young man. So yeah, the first step is awareness. Be skeptical of everything that you see online. We also have to recognize that we're still in the early stages of this. Like, yeah, the Willy Wonka stuff was super over the top and obvious, but it still fooled people. Crowds of families bought tickets at 35 pounds a pop to go see that thing, based only on the promotional images. And we saw what those looked like. Hopefully we can collectively wisen up, but we've got an uphill battle ahead of us because we've got to outpace the technology, and it already has a head start. Finally, we have to acknowledge who benefits from using AI technology this way. AI is being used as a dystopian shortcut by creatively bankrupt tech bros who value art so little that they're willing to just dump a couple sentences into the AI wood chipper and accept whatever brown mush comes out of it. They're not interested in exploring AI technology, they're interested in exploiting it. They're not excited about the possibilities, they're excited about the profits. So there you have it. There's my complete awareness bullet list. But we're 40 minutes into this thing, and I think it's fair to say that awareness ain't an issue for anyone still watching. And awareness is great, but action is better. I'd like to take action on this. I believe the best way to combat the use of AI images, as well as all the ways that art is continually being devalued in today's world, is to encourage people to make art themselves. That's why on May 11th, I'll be doing a fundraiser for the Power of Paint Art Academy in Philadelphia. This is a small local nonprofit that focuses on supporting children, youth, and families in expressing their voices through art. They have art classes, summer art camps, all kinds of programs aimed at encouraging budding artists. This is the kind of thing I like to see right here. Getting paintbrushes in kids' hands and just seeing what happens. The more young people out there that are interested in art, the better. We'll have a goal of $40,000, but frankly speaking, I'd love it if we could blow that goal out of the water. We've done it before, not to brag. Okay, I'm bragging a little bit. According to their website, donations go towards program goals and providing art supplies. So let's see how many new paintbrushes and blank canvases we can help provide this place. I'll leave a link in the description to the fundraising page. It's being run through Tiltify. Great charity fundraising organization, by the way. Shout out to Tiltify. You can donate right now if you'd like. The fundraising page is live. But I'll be doing the primary fundraising stream both here on my YouTube channel and also on Twitch on Saturday, May 11th. Starting at 2 p.m. Central Time. Lastly, no promises, but don't be surprised if you show up to the stream and I look a little, how shall we say, completely globally saturated.
I wonder who's gonna get it. Will they get the reference?
Hope to see you there. Let's support some artists, and as always, think critically.